Mary Peltola flips Alaska's at-large House seat Democratic. But it's a lot more complex than that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. The results of Alaska's first ranked choice voting election have just come in. And Mary Peltola, the Democrat, now goes to Washington as Alaska's at-large representative. We're going to talk about how this happened with hard, full particulars from the Alaska Division of Elections. Those results say much more about how Alaska politics differs greatly from the politics of the contiguous United States. It also means that Donald Trump has a few lessons to learn if he hopes to capture Alaska. Before we begin our lesson, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I have selected for today, which reads, Rhino Hunting. Rhino hunters, if you want big game and like a challenge, let's head north to Alaska for some northern exposure. Now, you will understand why I rely on the Anchorage Daily News and Alaska's own Division of Elections for reportage. Anchorage is Alaska's largest city with races competitive between Republicans and Democrats. And I lay emphasis on Alaska for reasons you'll soon grasp. On August the 16th, Alaska held top 4 primaries and also a special general election with ranked choice voting. I did a video on this back then. Decision Desk headquarters had the results, and I have a link to those results in the description. Now, Mary Peltola started with a clear advantage, first place. We all knew that. But if Nick Begich's voters had all ranked Sarah Palin second, she would have won. As the Anchorage Daily News reported overnight, actually on Wednesday afternoon, Alaska time, this did not happen. So what did happen? The answer comes straight from the Alaska Division of Elections. I have a link to their detailed results in the description. So here we go. Mary Peltola finished with all the precincts in with 40.2% of the vote. Palin came in with 31.28%, and Nick Begich 28.52%. But you now had 188,462 votes continuing, meaning they counted in the first round. Another 3,401 ballots were blank for this race, and 295 were overvoted. Bear with me, I'll define what an overvote means later on. Now, obviously Nick Begich fell out because he had the fewest votes. This is how ranked choice voting works. So his votes transferred to other candidates. Well, most of them did. We're talking about 53,756 votes to start with. So where did they go? Well, 11,222 votes went nowhere. The Alaska Division of Elections listed them as exhausted. Again, hold your questions. I'll tell you what that means later. Now, here's the thing. 27,042 votes went to Sarah Palin, but 15,445 votes went to Mary Peltola. And in addition, we see 47 more overvotes, meaning 47 people must have marked 2 second choices by mistake. So that, at the end of the 2 weeks, Mary Peltola finished with 91,206 votes, or 51.47%, and Sarah Palin finished with 85,987 votes, for 48.53%. Well, there you have it. And again, according to the Anchorage Daily News, you had about a couple of dozen Sarah Palin volunteers at her watch party, all saying, what? Well, I'm going to tell you what. But first, I'm going to give you some definitions. Remember I explained in my last Alaska video what ranked choice voting is and how it works. Now, I had to define two more terms that just came up today. First, ballot exhaustion occurs when a voter has not ranked all possible choices and all the choices he did rank are out of the race. Overvoting happens when someone votes for more choices than the rules allow. And in ranked choice voting, voting for more than one first choice or more than one second choice, that's an overvote. And if you're getting to second choices and that's overvoted, that vote doesn't count. Now we get down and dirty into why Sarah Palin lost. When Mick Begich fell out of the race, the Division of Elections had to read the second choices of his voters. And what do we see? Now, as I said before, 27,042 people listed Sarah Palin as their second choice. But another 15,445 voters listed Mary Peltola as their second choice. Now, why would they do that? Well, remember, the Begichs are Democrats, or they were before Nick decided to run as a Republican. There were a lot of people vote for a Begich, they're Democrats. And many of his voters could not stand Palin, or else they were afraid of her reputation. So they voted for Mary Peltola instead of Sarah Palin for second choice. Here's the first thing I figured out about Alaska politics. Party labels don't mean what they mean here down south. And by the way, down south, lower 48, outsider, they are all Alaska names for the contiguous United States. Another 11,222 voters marked a first choice only. And then after Nick Begich was dropped out of the race, they had exhausted their votes. Now, maybe those voters genuinely did not care who won if Nick Begich didn't. But more likely, those voters did not know how to vote a ranked choice ballot. They walk into a voting booth. Someone hands them a ballot. It probably has a matrix of ovals on it with three candidates' names in the far left corner and numerals 1, 2, 3, 4 across the top. And they say to themselves, I don't know what all these ovals and numbers mean. And that's why about 3,400 of them didn't even bother with that race. But 11,222 more simply marked Nick Begich for first choice and didn't mark any other choices. Now, maybe some of Palin's and Peltola's voters made the same mistake, but who's quibbling? Their votes didn't get transferred, so it doesn't matter. Now, I already told you about the overvotes, so I'm not going to belabor that. The point is, Mary Peltola got the votes of 75,761 people who really wanted her, plus another 15,445 who couldn't stand Sarah Palin, or they were afraid of her reputation. Worse, Sarah Palin lost 11,222 votes because voters did not know how ranked choice voting works and how to mark a ballot. Before we get any deeper in the weeds, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is OurSilverLines.com. You feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, maybe you just want to collect some rare and unique coins. Or maybe you're looking for business opportunities. You will find them with this company. Dive deeper and you'll see. Either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit OurSilverLines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, before we go any further, I'll answer one quick question. Who is Mary Peltola? Mary Peltola is half Alaska native, and the other half is down south, which is to say a Nebraska man who moved to Alaska to teach school. He married a Yupik woman that's capital Y-U-P'-I-K, and then became a Bush pilot. Now, other than that, Mary Peltola is a complete unknown. She will fill in her ideological blanks over the next 2 months. The Peltolas and the Palins have a long history of friendship, and Sarah Palin showed no signs of breaking it, win or lose. Hey, did you know that Sarah Palin called Mary Peltola a sweetheart? And you know what? I'll bet dollars to donuts they're still friends. The Beggages are another story. They are Democrats, and Nick is the first Beggage to run as a Republican. Har-dee, har, har, har. The Beggages are also a political dynasty, and dynastic politics still means a lot in Alaska. Moving forward, Mary Peltola will enter the House of Representatives at once, but all three, together with Republican Tara Sweeney, will run in another race at midterms. That race will determine who serves a term in the House beginning in January 2023. Sarah Palin called on Nick Begich to get out of the midterms race now. But she also said that ranked choice voting disenfranchised too many Alaskans. And then she said this: "We can't be disheartened. In fact, I think God prepared me for an outcome like this. Believe it or not, I think God has kind of given me peace all along. No matter what the outcome was, we're running to expose the strange things going on in our politics that are harming our nation and our state." Now, remember I said Sarah Palin's people reacted in anger when the final tallies came in? In fact, one of them shouted, "How is that possible?" Iris Samuels of the Anchorage Daily News heard that and quoted it. How is that possible? I'll tell you how that's possible, which you have to learn to make sure it doesn't happen again. Ranked choice voting exchanges one kind of election spoiler for another. Exit the candidate who draws enough votes from someone who should finish first so that another candidate finishes first instead. Like the three bony candidates for Pontifex Maximus in 63 BC who split their votes, allowing Julius Caesar to win. Enter the candidate with a significant number of followers who, in the second choice, vote for a finisher in the other party just to spite the other candidate of the same party, which is what moved those 15,445 voters to vote the way they did. The disenfranchisement that Sarah Palin's talking about, well, that results from the exhaustion of 11,222 ballots because voters did not know how to vote in a ranked choice voting election. And now so what does Sarah Palin do moving forward? First, the Sarah Palin campaign needs to teach people how to do ranked choice voting properly. If half the Begich voters who exhausted their ballots had instead ranked Sarah Palin as second choice, Sarah Palin would be going to Congress instead of Mary Peltola. So, the first place to start is to teach the best way to mark a ranked choice ballot. And that is, you be sure to mark down a ranking for every candidate on the ballot, and don't put any given rank twice. And if that ballot has a candidate on it, if you can't stand, you rank that candidate dead last. But you rank them, and you rank everybody else just so you can rank them all ahead of your can't stand choice. When you leave any candidate unranked, but especially if you leave two candidates unranked, you risk exhaustion. 11,222 voters made that mistake. Second, Sarah Palin needs to come to grips with the horrible reputation that a bunch of down south people have given her. Perhaps she also has to come to grips with a down south man friendly to her who himself has a nasty reputation in Alaska. As a result of both, she lost 15,445 votes because voters voting for a nominal Republican as first choice voted for the Democrat as second choice. Could that happen down south? Say if any state opted for ranked choice voting? Maybe not so readily, because Alaska politics allows for cross-party friendships the way no other state does. But it could. The exhaustion and overvoting certainly could. I've seen it happen in the Republican Party canvass in Virginia in 2021. Third, Sarah Palin must set out to convert the Bush from Democrat to Republican. Mary Peltola is a product of the Bush. The same holds for Juneau and other big cities that have down south big city attitudes and habits. Now, Kelly Tshibaka over in the Senate race has an even worse challenge. Lisa Murkowski comes from the Murkowskis. They are a notorious rhino dynasty. Make that die nasty. And not only did she finish the primary ahead of Kelly Tshibaka, but she would benefit from Pat Chesbro's votes. Pat Chesbro, the Democrat, finished third in the top four primary with not but 6.18% of the vote, but she did not finish fourth. As of this writing, the Elections Division is not yet awarded a fourth place in the Senate primary. Whoever wins it could pad Lisa Murkowski's numbers at second round, but maybe not enough to put her over the top outright. But Pat Chesbro's second and third choice numbers will definitely put Lisa Murkowski over the simple majority threshold. That's why Kelly Tshibaka cannot rest until she peels off enough of Lisa Murkowski's voters to win outright in the first round. So it comes down to how badly she wants to win and how badly Donald Trump wants her to win. And the lesson of how Mary Peltola beat Sarah Palin also applies to this Senate race. I also noticed that the Anchorage Daily News didn't give the instructive details on how Palin lost the exhausted and spite vote. Kelly Tshibaka must not let either thing happen to her. Finally, you know I keep my comment space open, but especially on this one, from anyone who lives in Alaska. I admit, I'm down south, and I don't have an Anchorage bureau chief either. And if this sounds like a call for volunteers, it is. So, if I missed anything about Alaska politics, and I'm almost sure I did, leave a comment. Link in the description of the article to results from Decision Desk and the Alaska Division of Elections and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and click the bell icon to get notices as soon as I put in another video. You can also click on the super thanks icon. That's the heart shape with a $sign in it. You can literally leave me a tip that way. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and another link to my earlier video about the Alaska primary and special election, and maybe to a couple of Alaska theme songs. This is Terry A. Hurlbut, delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.